Hello, future transfer students. As the GCC transfer coordinator, I meet with students almost every day about the transfer process. And one of the consistently most intimidating steps to applying to a four-year school is getting letters of recommendation. Now, if you are finishing your associate's degree and applying to a state university or UMass campus, you will be applying through the mass transfer program, and letters of recommendation are not required. But if you are applying to a private college or plan on transferring out of state, you will likely need at least 2 recommendations. Now, if you already have a strongly established personal relationship with multiple professors you have had who already know who you are and are supportive of your goals, you can just ask them in whatever method of communication you typically use. However, if you are like a lot of students, it can be harder to form relationships with professors, and maybe you don't have anyone who would even recognize you in a crowded hallway. In this situation, of course it can feel challenging to get someone to recommend you. So in this transfer tip, I'm going to go over some of my suggestions for how to get those letters of recommendation when applying to transfer schools. First, you need to decide who you are going to ask to write your letter of recommendation. The general consensus among transfer admissions counselors is that they want to see recommendations from professors who have taught you in their class. I know many students form great working relationships with their academic advisors, their supervisors at work, or coaches from high school. But the reality is your transfer school needs to first and foremost determine whether or not you will be able to do well academically. The other potential recommenders I mentioned can certainly speak to your strength of character, your leadership, communication skills, and other skills, which are certainly important as well, but for the required letters of recommendation, they really want to hear from someone who can speak to your abilities in the classroom. You can include other recommendations as optional supplemental documents on most applications, but keep the main ones from professors. And these can't just be any professor. You need to make sure they are professors whose class you did well in. Here's an example of how no letter of recommendation ever went. Dear prestigious admissions team, I would like to recommend Johnny Greenfield to your university. He failed my class, but I am sure he will do well in yours. Sincerely, no professor ever. If you have no idea who to ask, start by looking at your unofficial transcript. Pick out the classes you did best in and start by asking these professors. When it comes to how to ask for the recommendation, the best way is usually in person. But in many situations, you may not still have regular in-person access to your past professors. So the next best and most common way is email. In this email, it is important that you show effort and try to make it as easy on the professor as possible to give you a recommendation. A lot of times, this means adding details about who you are and why you deserve to be recommended. There is a big difference between an email that reads, "Hey professor, I was in your math class. Can you write me a letter of recommendation to transfer? Thanks, bye." And one that reads, "Hello professor, my name is Shane, and I was a student in your college algebra class in the fall of 2019. I am close to graduation and am planning on applying to transfer to a few private colleges for next fall. Your class was one of the most valuable I had while at GCC, and I did very well in your course. I am writing to see if you would be willing to write me a letter of recommendation to include with my transfer application." In the second email, the instructor immediately knows what class you were in, that you were a good student, and why you are asking them for a recommendation. These are the first bars to pass for getting recommended, and are important to include right off the top. But again, the trick to getting recommended when you don't know the professor is to make it as easy as possible, so you can go even further by giving them more to write about. You can include things like, "I am attaching my current resume along with my personal statement, which I am including with my application, to give you a better idea of my goals and strengths for pursuing a four-year degree." Now the professor knows who you are, but also has all this other great information to draw from in writing their letter of recommendation. Not having time is one of the easiest ways a faculty member can softly reject your request for a recommendation, and often it's because it's true. Professors can have a hectic schedule and can plan time to be away from the college during breaks, which ironically seems to be when most students think it would be easiest to ask for a recommendation. For all these reasons and more, it is important that you ask for recommendations early, like months and months early. For example, if you are planning to transfer for the start of a fall semester, you will likely be submitting your application to transfer sometime in February or March. So when do I recommend students ask for letters of recommendation? What I tell students is not February, not January, not December, not even November, but by October 31st. I recommend students ask for their letters no later than Halloween. If you really look at the academic calendar, November has about 3 weeks before the Thanksgiving break. Then December has just 2 short weeks before final exam starts, during which time both you and your professors will be preparing diligently. Then you have the long winter break, and when classes are out of session, many professors take time away from the college and can be harder to contact. And by the time classes start up again, you are less than a month away from some application deadlines. Writing a letter takes time, so asking as early as possible will definitely increase your chances of getting a recommendation. Additionally, it can be helpful to offer a time to meet with your professor to share more about why you would be a good candidate and further discuss some of your goals at the four-year school. Finding time to schedule a meeting can be challenging, but it is such a great opportunity to give your professor even more material to write about and ensure you get the best possible recommendation. Those are my suggestions based on my 15 years of working with prospective transfer and graduate students. Will every professor say yes? Probably not. But you're not going to get every job you apply to either. The important thing is that you are putting in the effort, being thorough, starting early, and keep asking professors until you are able to get at least the 2 minimum recommendations most four-year schools will be looking for. I hope this has been a helpful transfer tip. If you ever have any questions about this or other transfer topics, feel free to visit me in the transfer office or come by my virtual drop-in hours every Tuesday and Friday from 12 to 2. Have a good one.